here's like the number one thing that I do about roast jokes is misdirection.
This is episode 63 of the Arts Academy podcast, How to Write Roast Jokes, hosted by Victor Varnado and Roxxy Haze.
You're pretty good at roasting?
Like, I used to be really good at roasting, but then I started feeling like I was being too mean, so I stopped. So I can be. I'm still trying to find that middle where I don't feel like I'm being too mean, and it's just funny.
So I've only been in 2 roast battle shows, but I've performed in a lot of roasts, like shows that are roast. The roast battle shows, I actually lost both times because I tried to win them without being racist, because the roasts are so racist. But I wouldn't write racist jokes.
So like, get out of here.
I wouldn't write racist jokes, and I also wouldn't write misogynist jokes. I was just writing jokes that were just like I thought funny without being racist or misogynist, if possible. And I almost won one, and then the other one I lost, but not badly. But I did lose. But yeah, I tried.
I used to be on a Twitter. We had a Twitter group called Team Ether. There's actually some famous comedians that were in it that are famous now. Was Carlos Miller? I think Carlos Miller was in it. I think Roywood Jr. was in it online. I don't know. I need to ask him. But it was some comedians that were in there. We used to just roast people online. Like if somebody said something to one of us, we'd be like, "Yeah, roast." And so it'd be like 20 people just ganging up on it. We were cyberbullying. Like for real, it was cyberbullying. It was just like roasting people. And they'd be like, "Shut up!" And then like just 20 people would be like, "That's what your mama looked like." So yeah, it was. That's kind of what made me stop, because I was doing it for like 2 years.
Yeah, but I love roasting that is like silly. I love silly roasting. Like I would do your mama jokes for days. Like I don't care, because like it's not really about their mother. It's just nonsense. But yeah. So for me, let's talk about roast jokes. How do you approach writing roast jokes?
You know what? I actually just wrote some. So if I'm doing a roast like against somebody, well, first I'll look at the person, and then I just think, this sounds so mean. I just think like, what looks different about you, or what is like not of the norm about you, and I'll just start there. Okay, so let me figure out how I wrote this joke. Okay, here's an example. So I was supposed to do that roast show on TV, and so I had to write roast jokes about a celebrity. So they sent me before and after pictures of Kylie Jenner, and I had to roast them. And I had to write like 30 seconds worth of roast. So the first joke that I wrote, I'm trying to find one that doesn't have cursing in it. Drag queens tell her she's doing too much. So with that was just me looking at her like, okay, she has way too much makeup on. And who also has makeup? Drag queens. And then I just built the joke from there.
Got it.
So mean.
So so here's like the number one thing that I do about roast jokes is misdirection. It just always, I feel like that's the most often recurring thing in a theme in a roast joke, where it sounds like you're talking about something else, and then the surprise is that you are actually talking about a new thing. You surprise people with the information about what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Now I've got like some examples of a roast, and so when I'm roasting a person, what I usually do is I'll write down facts about that person. I'll write out a bunch of facts. Do you do that as well?
No, because I'm childish, so I just like, look at you, ugly face, and then I go from their ugly face. But the roasts that I see that are really good is they do that. Like, it's like, oh, this Smitty went to Harvard, and then the joke.
Okay, so, well, this is actually from a roast that I did with versus Corey Rapon, and I lost. Okay, so I lost because he's actually a really good roast joke writer, and I lost. But I did have some good jokes. Like, I basically... This is the first roast battle I'd ever done. And I started off with these long jokes. And when I found out they don't work, long jokes are very hard to work. Because I'm as a stand-up, I'm a very rambly stand-up. I tell a lot of crazy stories and stuff like that.
Me too.
Doesn't work in roast battles. So then I basically skipped my long jokes and started doing shorter jokes. And I started doing better at the end. I still lost, but now you know. So basically I found out as much information I could do. I found out about Corey Rapon. Like, he's from Nashville. His last name is French. He studies jujitsu. He's never been in a fight since middle school. He has 3 nipples, which is, I was like, oh, that's gold. He's on his 2nd marriage. He currently has been trying to get his wife pregnant for 6 months and hasn't been able to get her pregnant.
Wait, how did you find this information out? Was it just
I
like
just
on
asked him.
Facebook?
I was just like,
Oh, okay.
no, he was cool with it. I was like, hey, I was just asking him a bunch of questions. And he just like, he has anger issues. Moving to New York helped him get away from bad life. So I basically like found out all this stuff about him. And then I write roast jokes. In fact, when we were doing an episode about writing late night jokes for late night monologue jokes, it's actually very similar to like the base version of how I write roast jokes, where first of all I write them just with misdirection. Okay, so I'm gonna read you one of the roast jokes that I wrote for him that actually worked. Okay, so this is a roast joke that I wrote about him that actually worked. This is super mean. Okay. Corey has battled depression all his life, and right now I'm depressed that he's never actually killed himself. Oh yeah, right. That's
why I don't like roasting. It's so mean. It's so mean.
Yeah, that's pretty mean. That's pretty mean. But like, that's basically just like a misdirection joke. Like he's battled depression and now I'm depressed because blah blah blah. So it's just a misdirection joke. And then the other kind of joke that I like to do in roast a lot is puns. Do you do puns in jokes? Roast jokes?
I'm still laughing at the depression joke. No, like I suck at puns. I'm learning to get better at them, but like I'm not great at puns. I've never been great. Is there a way to get better at doing puns?
Other
than just keep writing them?
Yeah, I mean, I think just write puns. I think you just write the puns and recognize, like, I mean, there's a million ways to do puns. There's even like pun groups and societies online that they do puns all the time. I can actually show you. Here's one of the roast jokes that I wrote about him that worked. That was a pun. Okay, so this is a pun. So this is both misdirecting and using a pun. Okay, so this is because I found out that he had a tattoo of Green Lantern on his leg because he likes Green Lantern. And Corey's a stand-up comedian. You should know that. All right, that helps with the backstory. Okay, so Corey has a tattoo of Green Lantern on his leg. I think it's funny that he idolizes a comic book and he can't ever get booked as a comic. See? It's just but it's a pun. So right, the comic book booked as a comic. It's a pun.
That makes sense.
So
you're good.
This is actually one of my favorite roast jokes for him. This is actually a misdirection because he studies jiu-jitsu, but he's like a little overweight. And so I said, Corey says he studies jiu-jitsu. From looking at his physique, that must be the Brazilian art of wrestling sandwiches to the ground.
I think my roast jokes are never witty. They're just mean. You know what I mean? Like I don't have that added layer. Maybe I do need to start adding more puns when I'm writing roast jokes, and I think that'll add the extra layer because they're just like I'm reading through the ones that got me on the show. They're just mean. Like they're just really mean jokes.
Yeah, well,
they're not layered.
Well,
they have curse. If they have curse words in them.
Yeah, if they have curse words, then I guess you'll have to bleep it out because you have to edit this. Okay. Don't forget to bleep it out.
I said this was just stupid. Kylie Jenner looks like she only eats black sandwiches. And
that's funny. That's funny. I like it.
Let me write this down so I make sure that I'm beeping out.
Part of it is being surprising too. Like being surprising, I think, is a good part of roasting where you just have like a funny surprise. Like if you just got like a funny surprise, that's great. Because that's like, I mean, misdirection that's what it is anyway. You're like leading people down one way and then you surprise them. But if you've just got like something that sounds clever, like I remember like when I was a kid, when I was a kid, like we would do jokes. Like I'm gonna swear, so you're gonna have to beep this out. So if you're watching this live, I'm about to swear. But we would do jokes where we would just say like funny words together that sounded good. Like we would say, like we'd be talking to one of our friends, and we'd be like, you don't know how to you got the Lego penis set, which doesn't make it makes no sense.
Those are my favorite jokes where they just
it makes no sense, but it's just like nonsense. But that's also fun. That's part of a roast, because if you can just say something that just feels good coming out of your mouth, like that's part of it. That's like part of roasting. It's just like saying really just ridiculous things. And then another thing, at least in roast battle shows, one of the things that people do a lot is run-ons. Like you'll have 30 seconds to roast somebody about one particular topic. In this show, the topic I roasted him about was trying to get his wife pregnant, because at the time he was unsuccessfully trying to get his wife pregnant. And so then I just wrote like a bunch of roast jokes. I wrote like 6 jokes that I did in a row. Okay. About him trying to get his wife pregnant. And they're like combining, there's callbacks, they're combining things that I've said before, and they're doing like surprise jokes as well. So this is jokes about Corey, who is trying to get his wife pregnant unsuccessfully.
I know they're bad.
There are a couple of them that are bad. Yeah. Okay. So here's one. For 6 months, Corey has been unsuccessfully trying to get his wife pregnant, and he just can't figure it out. Here's a hint. Try anyone else's dick.
Okay, that was funny. That was not me.
That was just funny, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like silly. Yeah, it's just like silly, not really as mean. Here's another one, the same thing, another misdirection joke. He and his wife don't know if they're going to have a boy or a girl. All we know for sure is that it will be a disappointment. That's pretty mean.
That one is mean.
Yeah. The next one is so mean, I'm not even going to read it.
Wait, send it to me.
I will.
I want to hear it. I forgot to say this. One of the best roasts that I've ever done was a show in Memphis called You Look Like A, and you have to start the joke off with You Look Like A, and I like that structure. So like sometimes I don't like roasts or watching roasts, like live roasts, because it's just like sometimes people are just saying stuff that doesn't make sense. Like they're just like, oh, you ugly. Like that's not a joke. But I like when that structure just I like a box kind of sort of that I have to be in a little bit, and then figuring out all the things that I can do within that box.
I do too. I mean, that's actually why I decided I wasn't going to write jokes that were racist or misogynist, because like that's what roasts do so much. And I was just like, you could write roast jokes without doing that. This is my favorite joke that I wrote about him not getting his wife pregnant. It's really short, super simple, and it's actually just one of those jokes where it's not really a misdirection, but it's like a surprise. It's kind of like your joke where like that she always eats sandwiches. Don't forget to beat that out. But it's like that where it was just a surprising thing. Okay, and then I just wrote, the real reason Corey can't get his wife pregnant is because he always as he reaches for his penis. So for roast jokes, basically, for me, what I do is I will state a fact. Usually, I'll state a fact and then I'll misdirect the audience. I'll come to like a funny conclusion based on that fact. That's my basic structure for roast jokes all the time. I will research the person that I'm roasting, then make a list of facts, and then I'll state a fact. And then state a fact and then mislead after I state the fact. Okay, so this is one about him being French, like his last name is French. Okay, so basically I found out that Corey's last name is French, his last name is Rapon. And then how I approached writing a joke, where is the French joke? Hold on a second. Corey. Okay, here it is. The joke is, Corey says he's French. That explained why he looks dirty and is always bombing. Whenever Corey steps on stage, the terrorists have already won. So that's just look at your face. You know how there used to be an old joke where French people were dirty?
Like,
Yeah, it's just like Corey says his French. Explain why he looks dirty is always bombing. Yeah, so basically it's just like stating a fact and then coming to a very, I guess, insulting conclusion.
that's so mean.
Although I think one of my favorite roast jokes was it was on the Chappelle show where they were having like the
Haters ball.
haters ball. Exactly. They had the haters ball. And one guy said about the other guy, what can I say about him? What can I say about him that hasn't already been said about Afghanistan? Like, so funny. Like stuff like that is super funny. Like just surprising, misleading, and puns. That's basically how I write roast jokes. I don't know if that's going to work for everybody, but I do know it does work, which is basically research facts, state fact, come to a funny, weird, wrong conclusion based on that fact. Everybody out there, if you've got any final questions, please let us know about it. But if you don't have any final questions, let me just say that you can find us at Alt Arts Academy on all social media and artsacademypodcast.com. Please follow us on Facebook and join our Facebook group. We have a free class every 2 weeks. And so on the 28th, we're going to have another free class where we'll teach you something. Previous classes have been things like how to make a comic book or how to produce a podcast. So you can learn tons of stuff about entertainment and arts. If you want us to teach you a particular thing, just ask us. Ask us on social media. Ask us in our Facebook groups. We'll teach you whatever it is you want to know. So I would say thank you very much for tuning into the show. Once again, I'm Dean Victor Varnado. This is Deputy Headmistress Roxxy Haze. We'll see you again on Alt Arts Academy.